Okay, yeah.
Excuse me.
Excuse us.
Obviously, none of these trees were here all the time.
It was pretty alone. The ferns weren't like growing like they are now. Because they weren't. It wasn't like this.
Yeah.
Has anybody been down to the far end down there where there's some pine trees that are there? The very far end down towards the end up that logging road, there's a section of the forest that was pretty much exactly like it was when we went through, right in that area. And the trees, some of them look like they've been there, you know, still from before then, you know, during that time frame, and there's some new ones. But that was more of the layout of the forest that I remember. Yes, very tall. And that's why I was important to come back here now too, because they've said that this forest is about the same shape it was, other than there. This is more like what you were doing.
They're a little bit smaller, John, but they're almost the same. These trees are almost the same,
Right.
Which is unique for all of us here on the 30th. But anyway, where are we at?
We're gonna let's just line up the way the position we were, what you remember. You can talk about how you walked around it. I think that's the best place to
Can you see the light?
We're just at the end of the
Yeah, a bit tall.
John, far right was Banzak. They separated us by, I don't know, 10, 15 feet.
Now this is Jim. I want to stop you because I want to clarify something. Jim, over the years, has said Ed was
please
not
do.
there. Okay.
Oh, Banzak was there.
Yeah, he wasn't there
I
in
left
some
it for
statements and he
radio
didn't
relay.
remember it. After he came out here and looked at my statement and went through everything again, you can go ahead and tell him what you thought.
That was quite an emotional experience when a light bulb came on there. I remember exactly what it was. And I total recall.
Near where the landing site was.
Total recall. But it was because John was with me. I had it this time. I've been on here before. Anyway, we had, I don't know how far we went. John has the statement on that. But we were traveling pretty fast. And anyway, the whole forest is lit up by this time. It was all white light and it was arced. I realized at that point it was an aircraft crash. We had an unknown situation outside the perimeter of Woodbridge Bridge. Possible security situation. I get on the radio, on the run. Security 8, security control. I says, be advised, we have a help you here situation.
James,
Yes.
turn around, please.
Oh, you're filming? Oh, sorry. And they said, okay, possible security situation. Then the lights start dissipating down and getting lower. And it's a bright white light, and we come in through the trees. We're going up over these berms. These berms are this high. They're pretty high. They stretch for, I don't know, maybe 50 feet in every direction. I have no idea. And then all of a sudden we're surprised because we don't have contact with that light. We're surprised because all of a sudden in front of us is bright light. I mean, it's so bright that you can't see. It's almost as bright as this thing over here. I mean, it's pretty bright. I'll say this: our perimeter lighting on the base is halogen type. I would say it's 100 times the intensity of those. So, and they look out 100 feet. So that's pretty bright. And that's when we all hit the ground. Banzak, Boroughs, and me. We hit the ground.
Do you remember ordering me to fire on it?
I ordered you to draw your weapon, go to ready pistol, cock pistol, fire. And the light started to dissipate, blue light, and I see a black center in it. It could be my eyes, I don't know, because it was so bright. And as it dissipated, what formed in it was a black triangle, a craft, and I have no idea where John's at. I have no idea where Caban's is at. I have this craft forming in front of me. That's where my attention's at. I have no control, security control. I have no radio contact at all. You know, when the craft forms, it's dissipated down. It's a black craft. It's sitting in front of me, measuring about 9 feet by 9 feet, a triangle. It's sitting probably about 6.5 feet high, maybe a little higher than I am. I'm 6'2", and it's black, shiny, it has, in the fabric of the craft, it's got color running through the exterior of the craft. Blue lights. Some look like circles, some look like odd shapes. I'm really scared. Very scared at the time. I don't know what the hell this is. I walk up to the craft, and I'm trying to figure it out. All right, is it hostile? It's not doing nothing yet. I walk around it, and at this point, I'm starting to look underneath it. It's sitting up on something, maybe landing gear, but I can't see landing gear. And then I'm looking for the intake of it. I'm looking for a crew compartment. I'm looking for anything that's familiar with an aircraft. It's void of all that. I'm walking around, and then I see over there is some type of writing or something's on it. I can't tell what it is. So I start going over, feeling the craft as I go. And I finally get to these symbols, and they're like, they feel like sandpaper compared to the rest of the craft. And then I start feeling them. You know, the triangle, which is underneath. I can go through all of them. I can actually draw these, you know. Just like, they're there. I mean, and when I did that, the intensity of the craft got very bright. So bright, I'm squinting again. And that is when the information exchange happened. I get pictorials. Okay, I don't know how to explain this otherwise. Pictorials are things that are inside my head. I mean, I can't see them, but they're zeros and ones, and makes no sense. And I mean, I'm frozen. And finally, they dissipate. And the craft fluctuates in color, and then it takes up. It takes off in about 200 feet, and then it moves again. And I'm looking around at it, and finally I hear branches breaking behind me. That's John. He's sitting about over here. And I look, and I got all my people with me. So I don't know if I'm so fixed on what's going on, or I don't know where they went. I have no idea. So then we had pursuit after that. My voice is going again, dry. So John, can you just take over the pursuit?
Well, what I'm going to explain to you guys right now, I think the feeling I got tonight, and not from everybody, but people wanted us to come in tonight, and I know it's been over a year ago, Colonel Hall said it was E.T., okay? And I can't explain to you what drew him to say that, but he said it was, okay? And not only did he say that, but he said, I feel it was E.T. because of the way it acted, what it did, and everything else. And I know a lot of you probably heard the Colonel Hall tape, and if you ever come out here, maybe it wouldn't hurt sometime to take the tape and listen to it and be out of here and get a feel for what he was dealing with. But what we're trying to explain to you is that we're trying to give you the facts as we remember it, what we saw, and what we felt, okay? And some people were asking me a question coming down the road. Well, was it aliens? Was it military? Was it this? I don't know for sure, but I think as human beings, you can get a feel for what we were dealing with and an idea of what we're trying to tell you as far as what we remember. And because we're not going to tell you it was ET, or we're not going to tell you all this other stuff, doesn't mean that you don't have a right to speculate, but it would be speculation. But I think the facts lay out there was something that's unexplainable, that's something that if he has a download, which, I mean, the fact that these codes are there and there's something to them, that he had a download for something. And you can speculate where it was from, but it obviously wasn't our government, you know? So there is some facts there that are leading up, and when what comes out, what was first analyzed, it's going to be very interesting for you to try to figure out, you know, by what it says, because we've had to try to make sense of some of it too. But we clearly had an encounter with something that's unknown, that isn't normal, that wasn't an aircraft, you know, as far as what we've ever seen since, and that's what Colonel Hawton said. He's never seen anything in inventory like that. And I stayed in a lot longer than these guys did. I was in until the middle, about 2004, and I deployed overseas, and I've never seen anything like what I drew, you know. And I've seen some different things that I've seen lasers. I've seen some things flying around that don't look the same as they did 20 years ago, but it doesn't add up to what, you know, what was there that night. I've looked at every possible weapon, everything I've ever seen, and somebody asked me about ball lightning. Well, how many of you heard of spook lights? Spook lights, the MOD emits is this, and they have an EM effect and they have energy. Now, am I trying to say, no, well, that's what I think it is? No. But that is something that if you look at it, could explain some of what we might have dealt with, because there's definitely an energy field out there, guys. And it's out there in that field, okay? And we found it the other night again. It's out there in the area of the field out there where we were. It's there, and it was verified on instruments, okay? We took a starlight scope, and it responded anywhere like what Colonel Hall had said he saw. If you listen to what he said in the air, and I was out there the third night about beams of light coming down, I saw him, okay? I had something fly right over the top of me, shoot down and go through a vehicle, and I've said that before, okay? And here's the last thing that I'll add to, okay? I'm the only one that was out there both nights, and a lot of the same feelings were there both nights, and this is what I've been told happened to me, and I'm saying this not because I'm trying to be afraid to admit it, but on his night, he gave a description of it going into a triangular object with blue lights and everything else going on, and that was when I remember being close to it and the bright light hit. If you followed the story at all and looked at some of the comments Adrian Bastens has made, okay, and he's made some statements over the years. One of the things he said had happened was the object went into a triangular object, okay, and exploded into blue lights. And guess who was out there when it happened that time too? That was me, okay, and I was out there, okay. I haven't talked a lot about it. Colonel Hall has not want that out. He's done a really good job over the years of trying to discontinue anybody who was out in front of him. But he first came out and said no one was out there but his small team. The radio transmissions come out and says my name on it. Then he said, well, yeah, he might have been out there. I think I talked to him on the phone. Well, I don't think there were cell phones in 1980. Okay. I'm just being honest the way this is played out. And I did get up, I met up with them, and if you listen to what Sergeant Ball says, he says, not at this time, we'll let them know when they can come out. I got clearance to meet up with him. And I got permission to go forward with Adrian. And I ran towards something with Adrian. He did go to the ground, okay? He told me he felt he was held down to the ground. And then I remember getting close to something just like these lights, but it was a lot brighter. And then I don't understand what happened, and I turned around and they were gone, and the people were behind me. And the description of what Jim has said and what Adrian has said match up. It turned into some kind of triangular object with blue lights on it, okay? So, yes, there was something that's very unexplainable and very strange. And I'm being as honest as I can of what I saw, what I remember, and what came out under hypnosis. Well, there were blue lights. I mean, there were blue transparent lights, and it's a lot like Colonel Hall describes it in the sky. They were kind of a transparent type light. And if any of you ever listened to the initial CNN report, and this is before Jim and I talked about it, Colonel Hall talked about it, Chuck DeCarlo went after the story, and he was almost dared to find witnesses, and he did. One of the statements made by Master Sergeant Ball that was out there, well, there was two. It looked like there was something flying around doing a grid search, but also we saw a blue light with something inside of it that could have been a life form. Now, I didn't see that part with the life form, but he said that. And that came out way before Sergeant Penniston and I or anybody else talked
Sergeant Penniston, thank you. I can't believe you called me a retired one. Jesus.
If you look at the story from the first time it came out, there was a captain that was blacked out, but he said there was something taken by General Williams to Ramstein. Okay, I don't believe it was movie tape only for one reason. You don't have cameras like that back then, and it would have. And public affairs would have been the only one that had them,
right.
And they were huge. And to get a power source was impossible, and to get them out there was even going to be harder. But there was cameras, and there was pictures taken, and there was the radio transmissions were recorded, and they kept them. And if people think the motion picture is going to be what would break this open, no. Listen to what we were saying, how we were reacting. And then you have another guy that's come forward and was in that tower over at Bentwaters and can see a hue over the forest, and he saw a white light shoot, bluish light shoot out of it, and shoot something out of it. So we were dealing with some kind of energy force that could change and do some different things. And clearly, when I entered it, and I'm telling you this because I know I got so close to something, people from behind me have made statements that something happened to me.
Who took the photograph, the military personnel? Who were they?
Well, who took the plane? It was supposed to have been General Williams.
Right.
And it was
No, I
supposedly...
mean, who actually took the photographs?
See, Jim can explain that too. We always had cameras on the security units. And when Halt went back, he got a Geiger counter, he got a disaster preparedness. Sergeant Nevels took a camera. I'm sure the shift commander had a camera, and other people had cameras. And they were snapping pictures.
Right.
And there was pictures taken.